Welcome to TacosandGeeks.com. Justin here, back with more television reviews, and today we are back reviewing My Adventures with Superman. This is episode 9, which is entitled Zero Day Part 2. As always, I give you a brief synopsis, so without further ado, here we go. Superman finally gets answers to who he is and where he came from, while coming face to face with the General, leader of Task Force X. Meanwhile, Lois and Jimmy must find Superman before Dr. Ivo destroys Metropolis. That's me clapping if you can hear. Wow. Zero Day Part 2. First of all, credit to the writers for giving us the reason of why it's called Zero Day. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a reason why part 1 and part 2 is called Zero Day, and you get the reason why it's called Zero Day in this, at least a more in-depth reason of why the title is the title that it is, and it has to do with that picture that you see right there. This was phenomenal. This really did a great job of making me even more of a fan of Superman. And just a quick brief history. I hated Superman as a kid. I thought he was too overpowered. And I thought he wasn't really as well written or fleshed out as Batman and other DC superheroes. But since Snyder came and watching Man of Steel is when I really started to look at Superman in a different light. Just grounding him actually worked for me to kind of appreciate and connect with Superman more. This show here is doing just that. It is making me appreciate Superman more and realizing why so many people had Superman as their favorite hero. And because this particular episode, this is not a spoiler, this is just talking about the theme of this episode. It really signified the hope aspect of Superman and that Boy Scout and the reason why people of Metropolis believe in Superman so much. This was brilliantly done. Not only does it give birth to certain supervillains that we see in the DC universe, a certain death stroke starting to reveal piece by piece. You also get a little glimpse of Luthor really just, especially during this particular scene when they pan to Luthor and you see Luthor just shrugging it off. You can see that arrogance. They did a great job not only setting up the villains, but really establishing Superman as that symbol of hope for Metropolis and in the world. And they did a hell of a job, man. And I tell you, when I tell you that there is so much emotional beats in this episode. There is a scene with Lois and a monologue that she gives. And it's so beautifully written. And it's it's complemented by the score that goes with it, the visuals that goes with it with the city, and you just see a hope in the eyes of the citizens of Metropolis. This was perfect. If this was going to be, it isn't, but if this was the season finale, I would be happy with I will be satisfied with this particular episode. If they stopped right here, it's like, okay, we calling it a season, but it's only episode 9. But they did a hell of a job, folks. When I tell you that this one, we see a more vulnerable Superman than we've seen so far in this series. He's starting to realize his heritage and the reasons why he was probably sent here, which makes you question if they're changing the origin story a little bit. But I like this. And there's also something Jimmy discovers as well. So now they're adding more elements to this stuff. So there's a lot going on here that I was like, yeah, this is something. There will be a full spoiler discussion once the series is done. We're actually going to do an episode, the hour on this one, dedicated hour just talking about the show once the series is over. But season is over. But this was amazing, guys. Great action, but there's so much emotional weight in this. You see a more vulnerable Clark. You see Lois really becoming that voice of the Daily Planet. You see glimpses of the future of what they're doing with Task Force X, what they're doing with Deathstroke, what you're doing with Amanda Waller. Everybody, this show is kind of serving as an origin story for a lot of some of these DC characters in the universe. And I would not be upset at all if this was a start. And my fingers are crossed, honestly. if this was the start of the new DC animated universe through this, but I already know James Gunn has his own plan. But it would be nice if this was just kept as an Elseworld, and it is Elseworld, but it would be nice if this was an Elseworld that spawned into a new DC animated series universe, and you're starting it off with Superman, then we get Bats, then we get Green Lantern, then we get the rest of the Justice League. That would be so cool, just by the writing alone in this team. And I say this all the time, but DC needs to get these animators, the people who are behind, who are producing, who are writing this stuff, and let them have the reins for live action, or at least give them one live action project to do a trial one to see how the story will translate in live action, because this was just great. And obviously, definitely, I want you to check this out. This is Justin from MetropolisGeeks.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you're watching this from MetropolisGeeks.com, check out our new interviews with Simone Smith, director of Mobius, a short film that was on Holly Shorts. Check out our coverage of Holly Shorts, by the way. And thank you for all your support, love, peace, and happiness. And as a wrestling fan, I just want to say this. I know this is completely off topic, but I do want to say rest in peace to Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. Huge losses in the wrestling world. And thank you for all the years of entertainment. And that's it. Later days, everybody.